Just like Paul said, I guess. I mean, if I was judging, Yao Ming would not be first ballot.
No.
Period. But
No, he wouldn't.
Shaquille O'Neal, Allen Iverson, they should be. Why Chris Webber isn't in, I don't know. Maybe they still blame him for the Fab Five stuff. I have no
because
idea.
he called a timeout or something. I don't know.
For my opinion, I think 2 or 3 are first ballot Hall of Famers. I don't think Yao Ming's had enough in the NBA for me to say a first ballot, but I think he gets in. Maybe next year.
Right.
I don't think Allen Iverson first ballot, Shaq first ballot. I don't think Yao gets in first ballot, but he does get in.
NFL standards, no Yao at all.
No. NFL standards, which I think is the best standards of all of them.
Oh, the best.
Baseball's the worst. But
no, but baseball, they wouldn't let anybody in.
Oh, baseball, yeah. If they don't like you, you're not getting in.
You got guys who were like 14-year All-Stars and been dead for 30 years and still ain't get it.
Yeah, baseball is ridiculous. They need to do something about theirs.
Zach, 15 seconds. What you got?
All 3 are first ballot Hall of Famers, and you guys are selling Yao Ming short for, his impact, might not have been as big on the court, but what he did for the game globally.
I understand that.
I get you that.
You didn't do enough on the court for me, buddy. So
but
his career was cut short.
It was, and that's exactly my point. You don't go first ballot if you don't have a lengthy career.
So, speaking of cutting short, we're going to finish this segment off and cut this right to the break. After we come back, we'll have our friend Steve Kyler coming on. We're talking everything that's going on, potential trade rumors. This is Full Court Press Radio, sponsored by SOFOELLC on Sports Talk Today, the team. We're right back after this break.
Shirts Just For You is a unique custom graphic apparel store. Our motto is made for you, inspired by you. We offer a variety of designs ready for purchase, or you can create your own at no additional cost. With spring just around the corner, they would like to get you prepared, whether just for yourself or for your big event, like a family reunion, bachelor or bachelorette party, or even a work function. When you buy 4 shirts, get the 5th free using the code NBA FCP Radio. Buy 4, get more at checkout.
Are you looking to expand your reach and following in all platforms of media? Do you need a jump start in expanding your brand to all markets across the world? SOFO is here for you. SOFO means something for everyone, and they are here to help you expand your business through all platforms of media. Their experienced team is here for you to expand your brand and put you and your business in places that you would have never been before. Check them out at www.sofoellc.com or call 407-607-9862. Follow SOFOELLC on Instagram and Twitter.
I just bought my son sick basketball apparel from DHTK.com. DHTK.com has all the newest and coolest brands, such as Don't Hate the King, Repra, 23NT, and GAM30VER. DHTK.com vision is to integrate culture, fashion, and attitude that best represents the players and caters to us, the fans. Click on DHTK.com and subscribe to their basketball updates for an automatic 10% off. If you're a basketball fan, you must follow their social media accounts. Visit DHTK.com for all the details. DHTK.com. Don't hate the king.
Welcome to Late Night Parents. I'm your host, Ted Hicks. We have a weekly podcast where we sit down and talk with game changers in the sports, technology, education fields. We even do product reviews and giveaways. Why, you ask? Because we're all parents. So if you're ready for an up-close and personal look, then you can check out our podcast. New episodes are available every Thursday. Catch us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. That's Late Night Parents. The site is latenightparents.com.
We are back for Full Court Press Radio, sponsored by SOFOELLC on the Sport Talk 1080 The Team. I'm your host, Danny Thompson, checking you tonight with my main man, Paul Myers, Marc Johnson, as well as Eric Lopez and Zach Oliver from Leno Pinstripe Post. On the line with us right now is one of the most well-connected people inside the NBA. For those who don't know him, he pretty much is the man for basketball insiders. And I've sat down with this guy, Zach, and I as well, too, when we go to Magic games. To me, he's the most well-connected guy other than Woj that you're going to find. But the thing is, we see him on a daily basis. Our good friend Steve Kyler's online. Steve, how you doing?
Wow, you describe me like I'm the Lego of the NBA. I'm so connected. I'm flattered. Thanks, buddy.
The Lego, I was going to say more like, you're that piece that gets things going. So, Paul, go ahead and start it off with some of the questions we got from our friends on Facebook.
All right, so we got a group on Facebook that's wondering about the Bulls and what trade scenarios they have possibly this week.
Well, the Bulls really look at a lot of stuff here in the march up to the deadline that's on Thursday at 3 o'clock. But the truth of the matter is, when Joakim Noah went down to the shoulder injury and then Nico Mirtuk had the appendicitis and then had the blood clot after that, it really kind of derailed a lot of their plans. A team that had so much depth in the front court now is a little thin in the front court. So a lot of the pieces they were open to moving, say, 2 months ago, they're not nearly as open to moving today. So it's about what can fall their way. I think there's no question that the Bulls would like to improve on the perimeter. They've been one of the teams that's been sniffing around Kevin Martin, and it's not going to take a whole lot to get Kevin Martin from the Minnesota Timberwolves. So we'll see what kind of happens here kind of in the next 36 hours. But the truth of it is I'm not sure the Bulls have a big deal in front of them simply because they don't have the assets to move. Now, there is a chance that somebody takes Joakim Noah and does it because he'll take a buyout or they do it because they want to hang on to his bird rights. But it's going to be really hard for the Bulls to do anything that's an upgrade to that roster without moving a piece, and I don't think they've got the piece to move.
Interesting thought on that one. Now, we got another one from our good friend Jeff Hines, who had a question about what's going on in Phoenix. Now, for those who missed last week, Markieff Morris had a Dave Chappelle moment where he attempted to choke out Archie Goodwin on the sidelines during the middle of a timeout. Is the trade market for Markieff Morris getting smaller and smaller, or do you think he'll get moved before Thursday?
Well, Markieff Morris, if you kind of look at the three parts of Keith, there's some interesting things there. I think his contract, especially in the scope of this new collective bargaining agreement bump in the TV deal, the way that the new money is going to come in, $8 million for a player of Keith's value isn't crazy. So the number isn't crazy, but the problem is he's under contract for 3 more years. So maybe a little bit of a red flag. His production has been off this year, so that's another red flag. And, he's done better since the coaching change, but on the whole, he's not producing. And then you talk about some of the off-the-court stuff, and I'll call kind of getting into it with your coach through Cal with Jeff Hornacek, getting into it with Archie Goodwin. These are things that are character issues. Now, most teams will look past one of them. If you've got a contract that's maybe not favorable because it's long-term, no big deal. If your production's down, maybe you'll do better in our system. You've got character problems, but maybe you're upside. He's got the trifecta of bad things, and it really does drive his value down. I know there are some teams that would take him, but the Suns aren't going to get any value for him. So they have to decide, do we just want to get out of the Markieff Morris business, or do we want to maybe hang on to him, see what we can do around the draft, see what we can do during the summer? Because during the summer, a lot of the legal issues, if you guys don't remember this one, him and his brother got involved in an altercation that ended up being a felony charge, felony assault charge. So this guy could go to jail, and you don't want to be the team that trades something that's meaningful for a guy that ends up having to serve time at some point on your roster. So there's just a whole lot of things that may have to sort themselves out before Markieff Morris is moved for value. The real question is do the Phoenix Suns just throw up their hands and give him away? That's probably the best they're going to do. Now, there are some other players on their roster that do have value. You mentioned Archie Goodwin. He's certainly somebody they could trade. They've got a great young guy in T.J. Warren that I think would return some value. And they've got a big man in Alex Len that has shown some moments of being interesting. The Suns are in transition. There's no question. I think they could go any number of ways, but I don't think there's a major trade coming for the Suns, but they may shuffle the end of their roster.
All right, outside of some of the teams that we've talked about already, who are some buyers and some sellers that we haven't discussed yet?
Well, I do think we're going to see Ryan Anderson get moved out of New Orleans, and that's just, there's kind of a complicated relationship there. If you remember, his fiance, committed suicide, and that's a very tough place for him emotionally, and he's not going to stay there long term. The team knows it. They need to get some value out of him, but he's one of those guys that's going to be an unrestricted free agent. He's going to probably command a huge deal this summer just because of how much money's there. So what do you really trade for a guy that's a rental? And now that we've seen one of the destinations in Detroit get Tobias Harris from the Orlando Magic, really probably the next landing spot is the Washington Wizards. So we'll see if they can consummate that deal. They've got some players to move themselves, so we'll see if that one works itself out. We still don't know what Atlanta's going to do. There was a lot of exploration from the Atlanta Hawks. They looked at what they could get for Jeff Teague. They did the dance on what they could get for Al Horford. Kind of the prevailing thought is they would be willing to move one of them if it radically improved their team. I don't think they're going to move both. There's still a marketplace for Jeff Teague, and it could end up being the Indiana Pacers. The last I had heard was that George Hill and Solomon Hill were the basis of an offer, and that might be very interesting to Atlanta. Mike Budenholzer has a long history with George Hill, and they certainly could use some help at the small forward position.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Now, Steve, there's been some rumors going around the entire league right now. I'm going to ask you, and Paul, we'll go tag team, real quick, about 30 seconds per player. The odds of Dwight Howard getting moved, and where do you think he will get moved?
Pretty small. It's an ugly situation. He's on the wrong side of 30, owed a ton of money. Houston won't take money back. He's going to demand a ton of money. I don't think they get any value for him. I don't think they give away a top-flight player even on the decline if they don't get something in return, and they've got eyes in free agency, so they're not going to mess up their cap over Dwight Howard.
All right, what about Kevin Love?
Unless you're going to blow the Cleveland Cavaliers' socks off, they kick the tires on a number of smaller things, but like most things, you get the Cleveland Cavaliers on the phone. Sure, we'll talk about Timo Mozgov, but what do you want for Kevin Love? And, that's where a lot of this has come from. The Cavs don't want to move Kevin Love. They're not really looking to move Kevin Love, but if you put a whopper on the table before 3 p.m., you might get their attention, but I think it's going to be really slim that Kevin Love's going anywhere but Cleveland.
Rudy Gay.
That one's interesting because it does seem like the Kings are willing to move Rudy Gay. The one thing about Rudy Gay is, he's the guy that everybody seems to want to trade. What do you really give up for him? He is owed a substantial amount of money against the cap, so that one's a bit of a harder deal to do. And from what I was told by the Sacramento Kings people is that, they're not just going to move Rudy to move him. They want something of real value. So we'll see if something real value. That one is possible. I'm not going to say that one's probable.
And we've already heard Milwaukee say this. This will be the last one. But what about Greg Monroe or MCW?
That one's probably going to be a no. Again, Milwaukee, very much like Sacramento, has kicked it around a little bit, talked to a number of teams. They've gauged what the market is. Greg Monroe, unfortunately, kind of the structure of his deal is kind of a hindrance. He has one more guaranteed year. Then he's going to be an unrestricted free agent again. And what are you really buying? And Greg's numbers, while they look good on paper, Greg is now on his second team that has been very good with him on it. And I've spoken to a couple of GMs and assistant GMs that just don't think that he's a winning component. So I don't know that you're going to get a ton for him. They kicked it around. I don't think they're going to get anything, and I certainly don't think they can get anything for Michael Carter-Williams. The two guys to watch in Milwaukee are O.J. Mayo and Jared Bayless. Both of them are ending contract guys. Both of them could help a playoff team. I think Jared Bayless could be a great backup guard for a team that's really trying to make a postseason push.
Absolutely.
Steve, before we let you out of here, we want first and foremost thank you for stopping by and giving us some of the hottest trade rumors and trade scenarios going on around the league. But how can everybody catch you and tell everybody about your site real quick?
Well, Basketball Insiders, we cover the NBA 365. Anything that's going on in basketball, you're going to find it at Basketball Insiders. And if you're looking for me, it's not hard. I'm on Twitter. I am Steve Kyler, NBA. If you hit me on Twitter, I'll hit you back.
Steve Kyler from Basketball Insiders, one of the most well-connected guys in the NBA. Steve, thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to hop on with us tonight.
Anytime, fellas. You guys be good.
Hey, you too, man. Thank you.
Well, for those who just missed some of the hottest trade rumors, that's everything as of 7:58 p.m. on Tuesday night. So basically, he pretty much clued you all in what's going on. Interesting about Ryan Anderson to Washington.
I wasn't looking at Washington. I've thought of some other scenarios, but I wasn't thinking Washington.
We're going to take a break, and when we get back at the top of the hour, we're going to go into our NBA draft segment. So for all those fans who are looking at the college games, especially Duke and North Carolina this week, Marc Johnson's got you clued in. Also, we're talking with Zach Oliver about the Orlando Magic and their trades with Tobias Harris and what's going on in the future. This is Full Court Press Radio, sponsored by SOFOELLC on Sports Talk 1080 The Team. We'll be right back at the top of the hour break.
Here we go. This is your NFL connection all year long. Sports Talk 1080, The Team. Pure sports talk. WHOO Kissimmee. Lock us in. Sports Talk 1080, The Team. Orlando. Your fantasy sports station. Powered by SportsTalkFlorida.com.
Your NBC Sports Radio update starts now.
It was time for Blake to speak. I am Keith Irizarry. Blake Griffin, now injured, met with the media about an hour ago, and the first thing he wanted to say was that he apologizes.
Truly sorry for what happened. You know, it's a situation that between two friends that kind of got out of hand, and